authentic, be accountable, be disciplined.
Like I said before, I'm not going to dive into introduce myself, but Yoda's here. Glad, excited for that. So I don't butcher your name, why don't you share your real name, not just Yoda?
Yeah. Yoda's my American name, right?
American.
So when you move here, you have to pick a name out of a jar, like when you get your
Yeah.
green card, you know? So
Yeah,
Yoda, I
yeah.
just got lucky, you know? Could have been Hank, but
Gotcha.
Yoda fit for a Jiu Jitsu instructor. But my name is Jaroslav Botka, like my dad and like my granddad and like my great granddad. So I'm actually
Really?
fourth.
Fourth. Okay.
Which sounds cool, but in practice, right? You have three guys with the same name at times. Like when I was younger, my grandparents still alive. My grandparents would come and stay the summer with us.
Yeah.
So grandpa, dad, and me in the same space. You know,
That's
I
a
was
lot.
never really called Yaroslav to begin with. So I'd always had some sort of a nickname. And when I was living in New Zealand, which is where I met Megan, my wife, I moved out this college campus. Megan was an exchange student from IUP, and we're hanging out in the same group of people. And again, the whole like, what's your name? How do you pronounce it? Right, Yaroslav. But you know, how do you spell it? And people get confused, right? They're like, well, can we shorten it? What, you know? And just one of the names that popped up, one of the nicknames was Yoda. And so that's what I was called for like the semester, right? And I was dating my wife. Like we started dating right away. And like 6 months later or whatever, 5 months later, she left, and we're still like together, like talking every day. And she was talking about me like Yoda this and Yoda that. So I kind of already, everybody was, I think, primed, right? And by the time I made it over here to like meet her family, she was like, hey, like for real, this is like your American name. This is the time. Like if you don't like it, like you're gonna nix it right now, right? And yeah, I just roll with it, and you know, it's stuck, and it's great. You know, it's not the worst nickname person to have, right?
No.
So, yeah.
All right. So you guys met. I didn't know any of that. She was over there with school, and you're from New Zealand.
No.
Where are you from?
I'm Czechoslovakian.
Czechoslovakian.
Yeah.
You were there for school too?
No.
What brought you there?
So, man, it depends on how much you want to get into anything,
Hey,
right? But
fire away, man.
super crazy. So, my parents split up when I was like 10 or 11, when I was younger. And when I was 15, like my dad had remarried, my mom had remarried. And like my stepfather, my mom's new husband, as well as my mother, like they were like kind of like shady with the law. And he was especially like, so they basically just did a run, took us kids, you know, obviously against the law, against court orders, right? Split custody, and ended up in New Zealand at the age of 15, you know. But yeah, like just like, okay, like,
All right.
you know, don't tell it, you know. This is 2001, right? Or 2002. So it's like, you don't have like the wealth of knowledge on everything. Like you can look anything up. You don't have to do anything. You know everything about it before you leave the house, right?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like that. Like the closest you could get is like watch a VHS about Australia. You know what I mean? That's about it. Like seriously.
Wow. Yeah.
So here I am in like this new country, you know, and like I didn't speak the language, so I had to figure that out. But eventually, basically moved out. I was 18, moved out. And I was trying to get in college, but I was like a couple credits short on my like high school. So like I didn't actually graduate high school. Therefore, I didn't get into college, but I'd already moved in and paid for the
Tuition.
accommodation.
Yeah. Accommodations, yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm staying here for a semester. Like, so I just got a job like across the street and was living out the fun part of the college experience without having to like do the study, you know?
Yeah.
So, so that's what brought me kind of to my wife. You know, just finding myself at the right place at the right time, maybe the wrong place at the right time. And eventually came over here to like see her, and Yoda, you know, Yoda was born. Like
Yoda was born.
Yoda this and Yoda that. Yeah.
That's cool. It's funny. So the first time I heard of you, or I don't know if I've actually met you, but our mutual friend Mike Stone, love the guy, and he's telling me about this guy named Yoda that's here and not from here, cauliflower ears, could kick everyone's ass in the building. And I'm like, I got to meet this dude. And somehow we connected there. And like I said, I don't remember exactly where we met, but that was the first I had heard about you. And then started to learn a little bit about what you do and kind of your background there. And I found it hugely interesting. So a lot of what my desires are to talk to people that have passion and a lot of passion and self-discipline. And that's a lot of the focus of where my life is now and, you know, some of the things I'm doing. And that's what drew me to talking to you more today, because it's really evident you're a passionate guy and have a lot of self-discipline, and excited to talk about all the things you do. So yeah, that was my first experience many years ago with you. So it was 2005 when you were here. When did you come here?
I visited here. The first time I came to the United States for a visit to meet my wife's family is when we were still dating. It was 2008.
Okay, gotcha.
June 2008. Like I turned, if I'm saying this correctly, I should have turned 21 here, which I did. So I hope I'm doing the math correctly.
Yeah.
But I believe it was 2008, June, and I only was planning to stay for the summer, and I really liked it. I really loved like where we live, you know, like the community, like Crawford County, and just ended up staying till December actually of that year.
Okay.
But I already like left with the plan, like we're gonna like figure it out, make it work, and move back here.
Gotcha. That's cool. And now you're back here. Big difference culturally from the places you've been in Crawford County, certainly.
Massive.
Yes, massive.
Yeah, this is the most exotic place I could find.
Most exotic?
Yeah. Well, I think it's a function of like my life being so crazy and fragmented and like on the go and too many changes, like, and not really being rooted in any specific place.
Yeah.
It's like the kind of small town vibe, and the people, like it really spoke to me, like it's fun. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like I don't like crowded places, but I like seeing more than one person that I know when I go to the grocery store, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That makes sense.
It's nice. I like it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to live in a place where there's not that many people living, which means I can get to know most of them.
Yeah.
Right. On some level. And it's nice. Like that's how you start finding a home, right? I think. Right. Yeah. This is the first time I've done it. So I think that's real, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. It is nice, the small town vibe. I'm not a big city guy. I visit them and travel to them here and there, but I have some family and friends that live in different big cities around, but small town vibe is pretty nice for sure.
As long as we can make eye contact. You can talk to the nose pretty much.
No, all good. So tell me more. Obviously, you have a extensive background in Jiu Jitsu. And is that something that you talked about, you're the fourth? Is that a long-term family hobby and passion and sport, or is that something that you personally got more into and kind of the background of all that?
So I was around like European martial arts when I was younger. So like sword fighting and stuff like that.
Sword fighting?
Yeah.
That's no joke.
Like horses. Yeah. And my dad's into like, he'll shoot the bow off the horseback and things of that nature. So weird, but kind of like, it's martial arts, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was bullied a lot, and like my mother didn't like skimp on corporal punishment. So like we hit a lot as kids for, you know, something I would not conceive of as a self-defense instructor. I tell people maybe like hitting's not good, you know what I mean? Like, but which, you know, there might be a connection between those two, right?
Maybe.
So I got, you know, so I was interested in martial arts and self-defense basically as soon as I started school, right? Like first grade, immediately got bullied, got my ass kicked, like, and I didn't defend myself, right? Why did I not defend myself? Well, if somebody that's your protector and your loved one is hitting you and it's supposed to be okay and you're not supposed to defend yourself, then of course you're not going to defend yourself in the other situations, right? So like for this reason, as an example, like at the academy, if I'm teaching kids like how to actually do self-defense physically, I also have to tell them the context for which they can and cannot use the physical techniques that I show them, right? Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, it has to be tied together, and I feel like that's often missing. And I, you know, I didn't realize just how big of a part of that it is, right? Like the rules of engagement, right? Like you learn about it in the military, you know. But I was an adult at this point, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
and this is in Czechoslovakia.
Yeah. So I started martial arts, Czechoslovakia, or I guess it was early Czech Republic, right? So I was born in Czechoslovakia, and then a couple years later ceased to be communist, and it was like starting to be open to the West, and things became more like normal. And then Czech Republic basically, and I started studying like karate when I was pretty young, like maybe second or third grade or something. And but it wasn't like cutting it, right? I was coming to karate, I was still getting my ass beat, right? So I didn't have rules of engagement, I was having volatile home life, right? And also my research, because I was a really nerdy kid, as I am still. You go to the library after school, or if I didn't find it at the library, I'd go to the bookstore and just stand there and read the book that I like didn't buy, studying up like techniques, and then like convincing my little sister, hey, like if I like do the dishes for you, can I like do this arm lock with you, like, But yeah. So you read about all these different martial arts, right? And some of them kind of make the promise of like you're gonna become stronger and bigger, and hit harder and hit faster, like. And that's okay, like, so your kid, you're working out or whatever. But then you're like, come across the martial arts there that say, maybe we can yield and use the other person's like momentum and energy against them. Like, it's like, oh, what is that? What is that? Or that's like Jiu Jitsu. That's talking about Jiu Jitsu, right? And so that kind of set me on this path towards like a specific type of martial art and self-defense. And, basically be doing that my entire adult life, and some of my adolescent years too. Like I started jiu-jitsu when I was 14. It was judo, really. I think it was called jiu-jitsu, but it really was judo. And 14, 15 was taken to New Zealand. So I didn't do martial arts for a little while, but pretty much as soon as I came back in 2008, came back from the United States back to New Zealand, like I found myself at jiu-jitsu academy and started training. And I've been doing it ever since, like consistently.
Yeah.
That's the timeline.
Yeah, absolutely. And passionate enough about it to come here and start a business with it.
Yeah, that's the other card that you have to draw out of the hat when you like move here and get your green card. And you have to, it could be a gas station, it could be a little grocery store, or it could be like an academy. So I just got lucky, Yeah, there's a lot more gas stations in those jars than
Good Karma Jiu Jitsu in Meadville, Pennsylvania. Right. I was there, got to go there and have a class last winter, which was pretty awesome. As I told you before, I've always been really interested in Jiu Jitsu. I think it's pretty fascinating on many levels. Just the discipline, what you learn about your body and defending yourself, I think is really important. All the above. Unfortunately, after I came, as you know, I had a pretty bad back injury, and those types of movements and all that was not in the cards for me. And then along with what path I'm on now with training, I have a pretty robust training program that I'm on, and it doesn't lend itself to much free time for other types of activities.
Energy, right? Like, or energy. You might have the time and not the energy left to do yourself any justice. Right? Yeah,
but I did. It was fun to go to your class and see your space there. And I believe it was your dad that was there.
Oh, was he there when you came?
Yeah, I believe he was there.
Because my dad,
I think you said he speaks very little English.
Yeah.
And
kind of looks like me.
Kind of looks like you. Yeah.
But with a facial hair.
Had facial hair of some kind. But so I did get to meet him there too. So how's it been running a business and all that? You talked a little bit about you have a lot of different hats you have to wear with that, and learning and technology and everything with running the business. Do you find yourself struggling with the business side of it because you love the application side of it, or has it grown? And how's all the business side of things going? Is it?
So I think one part of jiu-jitsu or judo, I'll use those terms interchangeably because they're so similar, they almost can't be, taken apart. And I can explain it later on specifically, but it's not supposed to just be like self-defense and like physical movements. It's like it's a style of education. It's meant to make a person a good learner, right? Like by definition, like it's on purpose, baked into the system. And so I'm like, like I know I'm a white belt at business. Like I might be a black belt at jiu-jitsu. Like I'm a white belt at business, and you have to just admit it to yourself, right? And like, it's too easy to say, well, I'm a black belt. Like, I know this, right? And
Yeah.
then just like suck and keep lying to yourself. Like, you can't do that. You just have to like put on that white belt of whatever, right? Use that as an analogy for life, like the belt progression, and say, okay, well, what would make me a blue belt, right? Like, blue belt in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, which is what I do, means you're ready to defend yourself against somebody who's bigger and stronger and more aggressive, but isn't trained, right? Not being able to necessarily break them in half, but be able to defend yourself, right? So, okay, what does that mean? Well, if I translate it into technology, right, which is like what I'm struggling with right now, like I mentioned that earlier, it's like I have to be proficient enough where the technology starts being a tool and not just something that just continues to stress me out, right? Like, and what needs to be true in order for that to be true, right? Like, what do I have to make happen? And it's more than what I have to make happen. It's like I have to change as a person, right?
Yeah.
Like how does Brian get a jiu-jitsu black belt? Well, he doesn't. He becomes a black belt, and then he gets it. Then he's awarded, right? Like, it's the same with everything else.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you know this. You've
absolutely.
done things in your life, right? It's kind of that.
Yeah.
So, and like you also mentioned, like, or you asked, but it is true. Like, it's the passion behind the jiu-jitsu and behind the value of the like product itself, the jiu-jitsu, right? The that makes me like work hard at the other parts, because I feel like I won't do jiu-jitsu justice. Like, I will, I am jiu-jitsu in Crawford County, whether I like it or not.
Yep, absolutely.
So whatever people come to me and experience is what they'll think of jiu-jitsu as. So it's not like about me. It's not about just my students. Although, I think about my students primarily. It's about the students I also don't have, the people that like might come across it, right? And they might get the wrong idea of what jiu-jitsu is.
Yeah. Has there been anything in the area down there like this at all? I don't recall growing up. I mean, I grew up down there where you were kind of the pioneer of jiu-jitsu in that area, right?
So my part of Crawford County for sure, right?
Yeah.
So the Jiu-Jitsu Academy that I come from, that I've spent most of my years training, House and Gracie, Titusville.
Okay.
Is Pat Madden's, my direct instructor's academy. And it's very small. He never really advertised it. He didn't have a sign even for most of the years. He didn't have like a website even. I think it was just like a massive passion project for him, and I benefited from it. And at the time, I didn't even realize just how much I benefited. You know what I mean? It's not like now that I'm in the position to like do the same thing he did, where I'm an instructor and when I have my own academy, that I actually realize just what he did for like me and for us.
Yeah. That has to drive you a bit, knowing what.
So again,
and you're doing for a lot of others.
So it's like if I'm a total like, do a poor job of showing the world what jiu-jitsu is, or my community, I don't conduct myself in a way that's at least somewhat in line with that. Like, then I'm also like maybe crapping all over his like years of work.
Yeah.
Like, he's been paying, for years for House and Gracie, like the House and Gracie of the Gracie family that brought jiu-jitsu to the United States, started UFC. He's been bringing him to Titusville for 25 years. Like, who would think that?
Yeah.
I just got lucky. I walked into it, right? I got lucky because I did my nerdy research as a kid, so I knew jiu-jitsu was the thing.
Yeah.
I didn't think, when I was moving here, I thought I was quitting jiu-jitsu because I didn't think it would be some of the best jiu-jitsu, right here in Crawford, or we're in Erie County, but right home in Crawford County, right? So I have to now, like, it's my responsibility, I feel like. I make it my responsibility, right, to do that justice, right? To do House and Gracie justice, because his family, like, bled, like, literally, to spread jiu-jitsu to the world, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it can't stop with me.
Yeah.
Like, the black belt's not just for me, right? The blue belt's for me, because blue belt tells me, okay, like, I'm self-defense ready. Like, I don't need any more jiu-jitsu beyond that. So if you choose to become a black belt, it can't stop with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a great way to look at it. Really interesting. The Gracie name, you hear that obviously all over in just the world of mixed martial arts and whatever. You hear that. That's really interesting. They had those ties to Titusville, Pennsylvania.
I know. It's nuts.
That's wild.
It still blows my mind after 15 years of training.
Yeah, really cool.
Awesome, yeah.
Do you like the UFC? Do you watch UFC?
No.
No?
I like it, but I don't watch it.
Yeah.
Like maybe that's just part of me guilting myself out of watching something passively as opposed to like actively learning about it. You know what I mean? And part of it is like it's just too late at night. Like if they're fighting Abu Dhabi and it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, like I'll come over to a friend of mine's house, you know, have our kids there because he also has little kids, and we just like watch the UFC. Kids will play and do that. But
it is late. I don't get
the
to catch
recovery, man. You know how it is.
Buddy, recovery is a big deal. Yeah, I could talk about that for a while.
I know.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
Yeah, it is really tough with the times they have, but I do like to watch it. It's pretty interesting. I've always found it interesting.
Yeah,
you know,
I like it for the same reasons. I think probably people like football for like the strategy and like the nuance. Like, you know, it's more than just like guys slugging it out. But at the same time, even though UFC is the thing that puts jiu-jitsu on the mat, is actually on the mat, excuse me, is the thing that's like giving it kind of like not a bad name, but imprecise name, right? Because now most people associate jiu-jitsu with these like godlike jack dudes, right? That none of us are really like, you know, even if we try really hard, we might look like it, but we're like middle-aged dads, you know what I mean? With bad backs, right? Like at the end of the day, like we're getting you and I are like the type of people who get the most out of it, but still, like, you know, I'm not a 24-year-old, like, you know.
It does showcase the best of the best.
Right. So now you think about jiu-jitsu. I read somewhere jiu-jitsu is good for self-defense, but like, and you look up jiu-jitsu and you see like either guys butt scooting in a competition jiu-jitsu, or they like look like you will never look, probably, right? The chances are, right? So what is jiu-jitsu then? Like, what's like self-defense? Like self-defense primarily, right?
Yeah.
Like how do I learn enough and know enough so that no other person can impose their will on me?
Yeah.
I think that's it. Right? It's not me like winning matches, winning medals, or like becoming a UFC champ, right? Definitely. It's like, how do I, regardless of my size or age, defend myself against somebody who's bigger and stronger and means me harm?
Yeah.
Like, how do I still go home safe after that? Right? That's jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all of those other things too, right?
Yeah.
But if you think about, well, how can I use jiu-jitsu to help as many people as I can? Right? Like, it's not the like 1% that does the UFC or 1% that competes. It's like the other 98%.
True.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. You have a big focus. You know, when you said things like that, it made me immediately think of our youth and kids, and you guys do a lot with that of classes with kids, and you have, I think, some family things you do where dads and mothers and fathers are with their child and learning all that. Talk more about that, because I think that's critical.
Dad and me class, mom and me class. So it's mostly dads. There's only a couple moms, but most dads, right, with their kids. Before I opened my jiu-jitsu academy, but I was already like, I knew I was going to do it. I basically gave myself my own apprenticeship where I just decided, okay, I was going to come out there and so Pat, my head instructor of that academy, Health and Grace, was kind of semi-retired, you know, in Florida, like a lot of the years. So I said, okay, like, I want to teach. I enjoy teaching. Like, I'm not good at it, but I want to get good at it. So you have to do the thing, right? So I spent like a year and a half or 2 years, like, running classes in Titusville. But I just had Rosie, and, you know, my wife, like, works a lot of nights. So guess what? Like, she's there with me. So, right? So I have a little kid, like, on my back or somehow attached to me as I'm, like, doing jiu-jitsu or demonstrating jiu-jitsu, right? So, you know, then the classes, you know, you go through the instruction portion of the class, and then you move into the sort of free wrestling, free sparring type. And then Rosie want to wrestle around with me, right? Because, you know, it's like wrestle around with your kids. All kids kind of want to wrestle, right? Yeah. If you don't wrestle your kids, you should, because that's how they learn the limits of their own body, right? Yeah. That's how they learn the limits of like other people's bodies too, right? So like putting those two together, like me enjoying doing that with my own kid and knowing just how beneficial it is, and like adding like, well, put some direction behind it then. Like, what are you doing when you're wrestling around? Could you also learn like jiu-jitsu? Of course, right? It's not like a new idea necessarily. It's just that I really just wanted to like not watch my kid do it. I just wanted to do it with my kid, right? Because we only have him for so like little time, then The idea of like kids dropping their kids off and like running off to do their errands or play on their phone like didn't appeal to me. Like I'm not cool with it. Like so basically just tell them, the ones that sit around, just get on the mat, man. Like
Yeah.
get on the mat. Like get on the
Yeah,
mat.
your daughter was there
Kid.
rolling around when I was there.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you wrestle around and they learn in jiu-jitsu, you make it into a little game and they're laughing, right? They're riding on your back, but guess what? They're learning how to like maintain back control, right? Like rear mount, as we call it in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
But he's just giving them a little horsey ride, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're learning through play, they're wrestling around, they're bonding with their parent, and they're also learning self-defense, right? And then we'll talk about the rules of engagement with kids, too. But
yeah, that's great. I think that's really good.
you want the best thing for your kid, right?
Absolutely.
But you're not gonna do it yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm speaking all of us. Like I'm, there's so many things that I want for my daughter that I'm probably not doing myself, right?
Yeah.
Like we're all guilty of this, but why is that? Like that's gotta change. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's good. I think that's really cool. You have the kids program there. I've seen on Facebook and stuff that people are getting engaged, and kids. That's part of what I do. And well, my daughter just did a triathlon this weekend.
I saw.
So was really pumped for her. That reminded me of that. And same type of thing. Asked her, do you want to try? I don't force anything on my kids. I say, do you want to try this sport? Do you want to try this hobby? Do I think sometimes they say yes to please their parents? Certainly. I mean, that's the way it goes. But my daughter trained a good bit and did a triathlon this weekend. Proud dad moment for sure. Watching her out there.
And space, man.
Yeah, she did it. It was great. I mean, they had 60 kids, in the water to start for this thing, and talk about intimidating for a 9-year-old to go in a mass swim start and have chaos erupt in the water with splashing and kicking and everything else. And I have a video of her that I've watched like 10 times that I was filming, and I really drilled into her of just keeping the form, keep the technique, keep swimming, keep committing to your breath. Just do what you know.
Do your thing. Like
do your thing.
The other thing.
And it was great, man. The video I watched after, like I said so many times, there's kids flailing and going crazy and doggy paddling and running, and she's just back there in the back of the pack, just swimming her tail off, just doing the best she can do.
That's awesome.
And it was really, really cool to see her accomplish something like that. And I'm sure you feel that with your daughter when she's out there. You just have one?
I just have one. Yeah. Like I think her jiu-jitsu is gymnastics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but I also I think I've talked to her enough that she knows like it's like jiu-jitsu, like not jiu-jitsu, but like self-defense is a life skill. Like, you should know how to swim. You should know how to defend yourself. Like,
definitely.
That's one of those things. Like, you should know. Like, she knows that. Or I try to make it as known as I can that like jiu-jitsu is my thing, and it doesn't have to be her thing.
Certainly.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it seems to me the way she like approaches gymnastics, the same amount of like zest that I approach jiu-jitsu. Like I have to ask her to like take a break because she's practicing, and she's 5, right? So she's just learning to do the cartwheel, and she's just learning it really well. Like just because she just doggedly wouldn't quit. She's beat up and bruised, and bam, landing on her knees, landing on her ankles, right? And I'm just saying, honey, it's like you don't have to get it today. You just have to practice some today, right? And she's like, no, like I need to get it today. I'm like, I'm sorry, buddy. Like, sorry that you got that maybe from me and your mom.
Well, when you were talking, I was thinking, where she got that from. Yeah. I mean, that.
Well, it's like, it's a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
Because it can go too far, which I think has gone for me because like some trauma and like even in the military, like, you don't listen to your body. Like you do the thing, like you execute.
Yeah.
Right. And so kind of sometimes I think some of us build like unhealthy relationship with pain, and we don't heed the signals of our body till it's like really late, and like we have, it took me like a long time to like 10 years basically to get to this point. Like at 27, my body really started to break down. I'm 37 and I feel like 10 times better than I did 10 years
That's
ago.
great. What's your go-to, what's your recovery look like? We talked a little bit about good sleep. Obviously,
but it was a massive one for me. So I'm diagnosed with complex post-traumatic stress. So like the biggest killer in post-traumatic stress is your sleep, right? Like you don't
Okay.
sleep, can't sleep. So you don't recover. So your just body's just breaking down. And then you load, like if you're in the military, if you do jiu-jitsu, if you do anything hard, right? And you drive your body, but then you don't let it, the tools or the environment to recover, then you're not winning, like you're losing, right? You're
Yeah.
losing ground. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like getting on the Whoop train and like, you know, listening to like Andrew Huberman and like, you know, like really starting to pay attention, like do what my body does and maybe sometimes listen to it. Not always, right? Because a lot of times the body's telling you something just because it wants to be comfortable.
Certainly. Yeah.
So don't always, you know,
Yeah.
most of the time don't listen to yourself, but maybe like learn about how your body works, right? You know what I mean? So
Have you been able to get the sleep reeled in and sleeping better now?
yeah. So when I first started tracking my sleep, like basically at the depth of my like, you know, bad state and depression and like, you know, just not doing well physically, mentally, emotionally, right? Like prior to opening Good Karma, like it occurred to me that probably sleep has a lot to do with it. Started tracking it, right? And it was like bad. It was like 3.5 hours, like combined, like
Wow.
4 hours maybe, like, you know, waking up 5, 6, 7, 8 times a night. To like now, like, yeah, like wake up to go pee because I maybe drink a little like too much water, Gatorade after like jiu-jitsu, right? Because I work out and I get home late. So now I'm like trying to replenish something.
Yeah,
but then you're like getting up to go pee, you know?
Yeah.
But I'll only do it once or twice maybe, and I'll get like minimum 6 hours, like, you know, of sleep. So it's like within the last 3 or 4 years, like I've doubled my sleep.
That's great.
Yet I've like doubled or tripled like how much jiu-jitsu I do, right? You know, I was taking pain medications because I've had my neck fused and I had like 3 bad discs in my lower back. Like I don't take any of that, you know, and that's like, you know, it's only part of it, right?
Yeah.
But it's a huge part of it.
Oh, it's huge. I have some friends that struggle with sleep, and man, I don't envy them. I'm fortunate that I sleep great. Sleep like a rock. Yeah, there's some times with work and life and stressful situations where you don't get the best night's sleep, but all things considered, I hit the pillow at about 9:45 every single night till 5. And I get up like clockwork at 5 every day, and
that happens rarely for me.
Yeah, that's I'm fortunate because
once or twice a month, maybe.
Yeah. I know people with the struggles of sleep, and that's brutal. And they say, you know, key to recovery for sure. What else? You're in great shape. Obviously, you're in really good shape. You're
active. Like in great shape. Yeah, I am.
You're in good shape. I can assure you that. Do you yourself, from like watching what you eat, calorie tracking, meal prepping, do you do anything like that on a daily basis, or what do you do from
I post a lot of
fueling intake?
Day, kind of, you know, broadly speaking. So again, you know, like when I started paying attention to my body, you know, this is a few years now, right? Just at least, you know, 5 years, but maybe longer. I started noticing how what I put in my body affects me, right? Because like when you're 20, like
man, do whatever the hell you want.
You don't have to sleep.
You
don't have to eat, or you can eat garbage and still like, you know, go on a 5-mile run in the morning. And like I don't like running. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
10 years later, or you know, when you're in your 30s, like you can't do that, or maybe like you notice it more. I don't know which it is. Maybe a little bit of both. So I realized I have to change like what I put in my body if I want my body to do the things I'm asking it to do.
Yep.
You know, and if I want it to be sustainable, right? So just, okay, like, again, like I'm a white belt, right? So what do you do? Right? I have some knowledge, like I know what good things are good because the way I grew up predominantly as a function of not living in the United States and just being surrounded by garbage that passes for food, you know, where people like call things by their brand name as opposed to like the thing that it is. I knew that like what your basic vegetables and what your basic ingredients to a meal are, you know, like I always knew how to cook a simple meal. Like I know how to cook rice, I know how to cook potatoes, I can cook a good steak, like, you don't have to know how to cook very many things, right? Like to get a decent meal. You know what I mean? Like you can make tacos, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Easy, simple, and they can taste delicious, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of like picking the things that I can do sustainably, right? Like what is it that I can eat every morning forever that like I'm not gonna overeat, that's like at least decent for me. You know, like an oatmeal with some like, and it could have sugar and cinnamon, that's fine. Like, but it's better have some fruits in it, you know, and like, and I can eat that every day. And I like it so much, I'll eat it for a snack sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, and then you can do, then you see yourself doing that on a regular basis, and you move on to the next thing, right? When it's automated, you just don't have to think about where you're gonna have for breakfast.
Yeah.
So you move on to like your lunch and like what are you doing for your lunch, you know, and then your next meal, and it's kind of
so
like
zeroed it in, you know.
yeah,
like
but you just pick one teeny little manageable thing. Like you heard of Kaizen?
No, what's that?
Kaizen sounds like, because it's the Japanese word, it sounds like something that should be about martial arts, and it can be, but it actually is. It was often used to when referred to like industrial production, like automobiles, like when Japanese started being messed out in the automotive world. The Japanese got demolished during World War II, right? And they built up their economy and even superseded a lot of the Western like products in many ways, right? Because of this mindset of Kaizen, of teeny tiny but continuous incremental improvements, right? Where like, man, I don't I don't need to run a triathlon, right? I don't need to run even a mile. Like, I'll just like go for a walk today, right? Or maybe I'll just like set my shoes out closer to the door, like, and that's good. Okay, like tomorrow we can do a little bit better. Like, you know, we'll put those shoes on, maybe walk around the house a little bit. You know what I mean? You do something that's not gonna freak you out. It's not gonna scare you. That you can sustain. You can sustain every day forever. You know?
Interesting. Yeah.
'Cause that's what it takes to become good at anything.
Yeah.
It's you have to show up every day and do the thing.
Absolutely.
You know that.
Yeah.
So you just make it really, really easy on yourself. Yeah.
Gotcha. So that's a philosophy.
That's Kaizen. It's not my philosophy, but I approach like Jiu Jitsu with that, right? And I approach anytime I need to make a change, meaningful change in my life with that mindset. Like, because if you just think of, well, I need to change all of these things, like you might be right, but you'll get overwhelmed. You won't do any of those things.
Yeah. I read a book. You ever read Atomic Habits?
No, but I know what you're talking about.
Good book.
Yeah.
And it made me think of that, of little things, you know, add up to big things, and continuously doing little things that'll get you to the place you're trying to go. And that sounds like a similar parallel to what you were just mentioning. And I do think that's a good way to do it. I mean, showing up every day is the most important. You know, you have good ones, you have bad ones, you have good workouts, and sometimes it doesn't go as planned, but like you said, the little things and showing up every day.
And that's what, you know, like that's how you build discipline, right? Like,
definitely.
It doesn't take any discipline for me to want to do jiu-jitsu. It takes all the discipline for me to not do jiu-jitsu when I shouldn't be, right? To like close the computer and not actually look at any more jiu-jitsu techniques, right? And just like maybe relax for a minute. Like that takes discipline for me. You know? So it's like, it can get easy. Like, you know, you're like, oh, you're so disciplined. Like I'm not really disciplined because I do so much jiu-jitsu. Like maybe I am disciplined for that reason.
Yeah.
But that's not the reason why I should be called disciplined, if that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's an interesting way to look at it. Yeah. I mean, discipline, I think, is the foundation of it all. I mean, like you said, you know, discipline to not do it. I mean, you just show up every day, you do it. I look at it as, I've told several people this, that I consider it a part of my extended workday. That, you know, the healthy part of my day where I do something active and work hard and sweat is just part of my normal work. So there's not really an option to not show up and not do it. I have to go to work. I have to do this. So I just look at it as that, because I have a lot of people that I talk to that are, you know, can't find time. I can't find this. I just can't do it. And it's all around you. I mean,
I hear the same excuses. And the ironic thing is the busiest of people come the most consistently. Like the doctors and the business owners that I haven't trained, train the most consistently and improve, right? Because they know it takes the same thing to become good.
Yeah, they're probably wired that way with so much of their life, you know, of these people that are busy and they thrive in that busyness.
Yeah, and it's the people who like maybe are the most productive, they're like, oh, I can't find the time, like, or I'm too busy, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to be busy, buddy. Like, we're all, if you're not busy, like, something's wrong. Like, you should be busy. It's what kind of busy are you? Like, are you busy on purpose with the things that drive you, that build incrementally upon each other? Or are you just busy at random because you're being drawn, or you're letting yourself be drawn in many different directions? Like, like, you know what I mean? That's the only difference.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm seeing, at least in my students, right?
Definitely.
Like, I only have limited experience because really I shouldn't be speaking on anything outside of jiu-jitsu, you know, and my own personal, like, anecdotal evidence, right? But in my students, this is what I'm seeing, right? I'm seeing students that are like succeeding, meaning they're meeting their own goals with progression within jiu-jitsu, or they're like not, and they're wondering like why. And, you know, maybe I haven't done a good job of like explaining like what the process is, or maybe they just like aren't willing to accept that the process just is uncomfortable. You know what I mean? That's what they have to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, I agree fully. I mean, the whole idea of being comfortable, that is what people thrive. You know, they want to be comfortable. Getting uncomfortable
but
is very hard.
It's only an idea. Like, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to be uncomfortable either on purpose, right, or by default, right? Because, okay, we're passionate about moving, right, about movement. It's uncomfortable. So if we just don't do that, then what'll happen? Like, our bodies will start breaking down and we'll be uncomfortable and in pain.
Yeah.
So it's just like, okay, like, do you want to be uncomfortable?
Choose your uncomfortable.
On purpose?
Yeah.
On purpose.
Yeah.
The highest purpose, ideally, as high of a purpose as you can make it, right? Because like, it's hard. It's really, 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 really hard. Like, life is really hard. So you can't just make it about yourself. Otherwise, it's going to crush you. Like, it has to be higher than that, right?
Yeah.
So that you can get through the suffering. Like, the way I understand it, that's like the premise of like Christianity, right? You voluntarily accept that like life is hard and it will take suffering. And from what I'm understanding, if you want to be a Christian, you have to understand or accept that there is suffering. Like, that's the pivotal thing about life, is suffering. But if you take it on voluntarily, like, good things will happen.
Yeah. And I think it makes the tougher times a little better when you struggle a lot and you work hard a lot and you know, like you said, in pain, and it hurts and it's hard. You put yourself in hard situations. I think it makes when the shit that just hits the fan a little bit easier. I think if you go through life, you know, just floating by and not getting uncomfortable, when something hits you in the face, it'll be that much harder for you. That's how I feel, at least. I mean, you know, I've seen it in real time, but I think putting yourself in those tough positions is hard, or is good for you. You know, putting yourself in hard positions.
I think it's necessary.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's necessary so we're not stuck, you know, so that person's not stuck.
Yeah.
Because then you'll still be uncomfortable, but you'll also be stuck.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you train every day?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So like Sunday, I don't put jiu-jitsu on the like schedule. You know, it tends to be a family day, but you know, it doesn't mean I'm not moving, and I'm planning the week's training.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe do a little bit of like, you know, learning, like videos and stuff like that. But I train like every day, like I'm going to go teach a private right after this.
Okay.
And then I have a new student starting in the evening, and then I have a class, and the same thing the next day, and the next day, and the next day.
We live in Groundhog Day.
Forever, right?
Yeah. No, I that's great. Question for you: the competitive jiu-jitsu. There's I don't know a lot about that space. Of there's you know, tournament. There's Olympic jiu-jitsu in the Olympics. No.
There's judo, Olympic judo. That was just on.
Gotcha.
Which is basically not Olympic judo. That's just the rule set. But Kodokan judo, as it's called, is the like father parent of Gracie jiu-jitsu, like the parent style.
Yeah,
if you will. Yeah.
Gotcha. And in that, is there? I'm just drawing the parallel to like the UFC we mentioned earlier. Is there weight classes for that? So you have weight, you know, based on weight to who you compete against and things like that.
Yeah, and like belt rank.
Weight and belt rank.
right?
Gotcha.
In some cases, age. Like I competed in this like judo competition recently, but it's masters like 30 and above.
Gotcha.
I like it. It's just older people.
Yeah. Do you do a lot of those? Do you travel to tournaments? I don't know if that's the right word, but
No, this is the first time I'm competing in like 8 or 9 years.
Yeah.
Like I think competition does for jiu-jitsu what jiu-jitsu does for your life, which is make you sharper. But it's not always my intention to just be a sharp like competitor, right?
Yeah.
It's important that I'm a good instructor. Like,
certainly.
because that's my job.
How'd you do in the tournament?
Well, I got beat by 2 really good guys. Then I got to ask my attack and squeaked out 3rd place because it was a small bracket.
All right.
I laughed at myself because I had to ask my attack and because I wasn't the first one there who had asked my attack. So I was like, I'm right where I need to be, man.
Yeah.
Like,
that has
active
to be cool.
old guys who are like trying to get after it, man. But they're all older than me,
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Do you have any other planned? Any other tournaments planned? Or you said it's not really a huge focus here?
I do, but it's not for 3 years and it's in Japan.
Okay.
So what I competed in judo, the Panic Masters is the organization, International Masters Games. It's like an international organization for older, 30 plus athletes in all sorts of sports. So in judo, I just compete in like Pan Americans. This is the tournament I'm talking about. So like the next big tournament this competition is putting on next year, I believe is in Taiwan. Next year after is in like Dubai.
Oh wow.
I don't really want to visit either one of those two places at this point in my life. I really want to visit Japan, so it's the year after. So my focus now is like, growing my business and making it like automated enough where I'm doing mostly jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And where I'm able to step away and actually go like to Japan for an extended period of time, a couple weeks, more than just a couple days. And make sure that I'm decent enough that it will like send me back out of their country and say this person's ruining our
reputation,
historical or heritage of the country, that's in this martial art. So
that's fine.
So that's what I've planned, but most of my plans revolve around like developing my students.
Yep.
It's competition inevitably is like selfish, right? It has to be, right? You have to put everything else like on hold so that you can peak, so that you can have a camp, so that you can perform on this one specific day. In reality, maybe the guy next to you would have wanted the next day. Like it's too fleeting for me of a goal. Like it's not really. I like the process. Like I like the person that I've kind of become leading up to the competition, like being more disciplined. Like I don't calorie count on a day-to-day basis. I know that I move so much that I burn whatever I put in my body. It's a matter of am I putting good quality things in my body. But now like calorie counting, right? Because I got to be specific weight, and I'm like, I don't have that sweet treat. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you had to weight cut big before?
No,
pretty dangerous process.
No,
right?
I don't weight cut. I'll just really just kind of dial in my weight a little bit. My weight class will be pretty close to within 5 pounds or 7 pounds of what I am. Like if I weigh 205 today, like I competed at a weight class that was 198 pounds.
Gotcha. So you stick to your walking weight.
Yeah,
pretty close.
Like because self-defense. Because I just want to know what I can do on a day-to-day basis. Like it's not when I peak. Like actually, how can I do it at my worst? Like that's what I want to know.
Yeah.
How can I perform my worst day?
Yeah.
Is it just good enough to defend myself and my loved ones? Yeah, then good.
Yeah.
That's all the training that I need. The rest is for other people. The rest is to give to my students so that they can experience the growth that I have.
Yeah. Yeah. You talked about, healthy fuel and things. The big things I've tried to change and cut out: sugar and alcohol. Those are tough ones. Sugar.
They're both addictive, right?
Yeah, they're both really addictive. I think
they're both like kind of the same thing, really.
Yeah.
Right, because like alcohol is sugar,
Yeah.
So I'm stepping outside of my realm, but it seems like they affect me exactly the same way.
Yeah, I noticed you were talking earlier about how what you put in your body affects your training that day, the next day, and I noticed it with alcohol on. Even if I were to have like 2 drinks, the next day day, my heart rate's like 20 beats per minute faster. Because I do it mainly
Heart rate variability
all heart rate.
suffers.
Yeah.
Bad.
Yeah, I do a lot through heart rate to monitor how I'm training and where I'm at. And I've got it pretty zoned in now that I can tell without a heart rate monitor how I feel in any given exercise where my heart rate is. And I check.
I can feel it. Like, you know, that little flutter? Like,
yeah.
But
the alcohol will do that.
Yeah, like 1 or 2 drinks. Like,
yeah. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
the sugar is my Achilles heel. I love sugar.
Love chocolate.
Yeah.
Love
I crushed some chocolate cookie dough last night, ice cream. Had to. I try to cut it out of my life as best I can, but it's tough. I have a sweet tooth, and my kids have the same thing. And what I find it funny is, growing up, I never did. So all the times playing baseball growing up, I remember the coach would take kids to get ice cream after the game, and I would not want it. It always made me thirsty. I'd be like, "Can I have a cheeseburger?" So I didn't like sugar at all. My whole upbringing, if there was cake, pie, I'd rather have another piece of pizza or something. I didn't like it. And then as I got into the last 3 years of trying to be healthy and trying to get healthier, the sweet tooth kicked in.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm not a dietitian or nutritionist. Someone could probably tell me based off how many calories I burn and what I'm putting in my body where I'm lacking something that would cause that sugar craving. But it's
the same exact train of
real.
thought. I wonder. And does it seem that if you give in to that craving and you get that, whatever your sweet treat is, then you're more likely to get it the next day? Or like it seems like the more I give into it, like, and I don't know, it's mental. It feels like literally the more I eat that sugar, the more I crave it.
Yeah.
It's going to be a thing, right?
It is.
That's a thing.
And mine, I have no problem going back for seconds either. Like I've told people that I have had my sister and I text a lot about our sweet tooth issues at night. We'll be doing really good, and then she'll text me a picture of like a triple brownie sundae, and then I'll be like, I feel you. I saw a box of cookies. I had 7 of them. It is what. I'll go back. I'll get I won't get the jar of ice cream out because I'm trying to be in control. So I'll take a spoon. I'll eat it out of the jar, put it back. I'll leave the spoon on the counter, not wash it.
Can't do that.
Then I'll come back, and I'll go 3 or 4 times to that ice cream. Yeah. My sister, funny story, she would take her kids would always eat her ice cream, and she's real particular about her ice cream. So she would take her ice cream pint and put it in a vegetable bag in the freezer so that the kids thought it was vegetables and wouldn't bust out her ice cream.
That's a good trick. We live really close to the ice cream shop.
Okay.
Within a mile of Dave's place.
Dave's place. Yeah, gotcha.
Disaster.
It's hard. It's good for you. But those are the 2 big things I've tried to cut out of, from an eating as best I can. I don't really drink anymore.
Yeah, I notice it. I don't like a good old fashioned, man. I have 1 or 2 of them. Like, I know my ankles are gonna swell in 3 hours. Like
an old fashioned.
Yeah, like an old fashioned. Like
they're great.
Like I know it. Like I know it. Like
really, you can physically.
Like I know. Yeah, that's how. I don't know if I when I was younger, like, and I drank regularly, like. I was just always like that. I never noticed it, right? Or if it's like just getting older.
We're not 20 anymore.
Like, I don't know. I don't know which it is, but I like notice it, and like I'll have them, but I won't have them like several times a week. It might be on Sunday.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, and I know I'm paying for it somewhere. Like, I know it's not free.
Yeah. And I have in my mind that just that same, you're paying for it somewhere. I've become fairly obsessed with my path and what I want to do and goals and what I think I can achieve. I struggle breaking that and sacrificing that next day or how I'd feel. I feel tremendous guilt.
Cheating on yourself.
Yeah.
Basically is
where I'm like, if I do this, I'm gonna have a negative impact.
Yeah.
And I take that pretty seriously. Yeah. But it's tough. It's tough for many. I was just down at baseball game, down at the Pirates game with a lot of people through work, and was talking to a lady, and we took some buses down, and she said everyone was getting water, and she's like, this bus is no fun. No one's having fun. She's bashing us pretty good. I said, ma'am, I have a lot of fun drinking water. I have no
bathroom.
Yeah, that also. But she was on it, and it was funny. I talked to her again. She was drinking pretty good, and then by the end of the trip, I was talking to her about it, and she's like, well, like, I get it, and I wouldn't mind waking up and doing something healthy. And I've had a lot of people that I've talked to, they start off with kind of attack mode of like, why do you do it so much? And why do you have to train again tomorrow? And can't you just, and then by the end of the conversation, you can see it in their eyes, and you can tell that they want some of that self-discipline. They want a piece of it. And I find that so interesting. I see it fairly frequently when, I get picked on and of this and that, like, oh, you're no fun with this, or, oh, you got to run in the morning. But then by the end, they're like, I'll get a text like, hey, I ran a half mile yesterday. And I'm like, good job. It's like they want it, but they won't let the guard down of the stigma and the norms. And
I think that's it. Like, when, so I do this in class, like my friends do it unwittingly, but if I try to engage in my jiu-jitsu class in a conversation, right, like it's good that somebody asks the first question, right, even if it's dumb.
Yeah.
Right? Give the other people permission to ask other questions. I wonder if this is like the same thing, right? Like they'll want to ask a question. They'll want to know, like, how do I make my life a little bit better?
Yeah.
But it's like you also have to admit first off that that you're not doing all you could be doing. Which none of us really are, but like you're really not doing all you could be doing, right? Yeah. And you know it. So you have to admit that to yourself. And then you have to have somebody to like tell you, hey, it's okay. Like it's okay that you didn't know any better and now you want to change that. Like it's all right, like it's okay to want to be a totally different person.
Yeah.
If you haven't been meeting some sort of a healthy standard for yourself and your loved ones, let's say.
Yeah.
So it maybe takes like somebody like.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Everybody sometimes needs a little push, a little motivation, hype man, somebody that demonstrates it that they can.
It's a lot harder to do with jiu-jitsu, with self-defense. Like women are best in the sense that they're generally smaller and they're not used to using their physical prowess, right? So they kind of like know, hey, like the world maybe isn't as safe, like as we're like lying ourselves to believe.
Yeah. And
so they're kind of more in touch with that, and they're easier, like they're better students, kind of on average because of this. Like they don't let the ego fill.
Women are better shots with a rifle too.
Maybe it's the same thing.
They don't have an ego,
right?
That's exactly right. Women are great shots.
But so, how many people do you meet that say, "Hey, like I could run a triathlon tomorrow," and mean it?
Not many.
Like not very many, right? Like. The amount of people that I've met is so large that it's kind of an inside joke in the like martial arts community is that guys who have never trained just assume that if they get mad enough, they're going to win a fight. Like,
and
doesn't make any sense,
just laugh.
Right? Like I would, now I'm just like, no, I don't laugh because I think it's sad. At this point, I can joke about it with my friends who have walked the path and they just know how much they don't know, right? I don't know, I still don't know because all of my friends that have been doing it for at least as long as I are tougher than me anyway, so they could go whoop my butt. You know what I mean? But it's like, how can I think that I'm going to be good at something that I never trained?
Do you think it's just a little bit of ego, masculinity,
all of it,
like just all of it combined? They just assume.
Yeah, but like, why would you think that?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna think I can like keep up with you covering distance. Like no way. Like, can I do it at some point if I train hard enough? 100%.
Yeah.
Those two aren't the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Like one is a delusion. That's probably not safe for you.
Yeah.
But it's really common in guys, man.
Yeah, I can see how that would be.
Women don't come in like thinking that. You know what I mean? Guys, like
you got to humble them a little bit. Yeah.
Well, and and then it's like, okay, like how much of my job is doing the humbling, right? So the old school mentality, like that I grew up in, was we'd have guys like this come in and we'd eat them alive and we'd take pleasure.
Yeah.
Right. And the bigger and stronger the guy was, the more fun it was. The larger the skill, size disparity. If the guy had at least 50 pounds on you, like it was good. He had 100 pounds, even better. Because if you don't know, you don't know. Like, you know what I mean? It's about skill. Like, it's not so much about size.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a running form. There's a swimming form. Like, you either know how you swim or you don't. Like, there's no, like,
Yeah.
If I get mad enough, I'm gonna swim across this pond.
No.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't exist.
Yeah. Technique. It's just like anything else. You see people in a ton of sports that aren't golf, for example.
How do you know
Great golfers
how do you know
that
that you
terrible
can
shape.
swim?
How do
I know that? How does anybody know that?
Yeah. I can tell you I didn't know how to swim.
Right. Well,
you think splash around in a pool is swimming.
See them videos?
Yeah.
They throw the little babies in the
babies.
water.
Yeah.
Supposedly we all know how to swim, but boy, like we don't. Like we have to learn it, right?
Yeah. Very humbling. Very hard. Yeah.
You know, so are you out of your element, which we're all out of our element when we're in some sort of a stressful, like, would-be fight situation, right? It's not comfortable. We're not in it in a day-to-day basis, right? We don't think about the eventual, most likely courses of action, right? And then we don't prepare for them.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like it's a weird thing, man. That people like. So how do I approach that, right? Because that's how this kind of bit started, is reaching out to people who might be too scared to admit to themselves that they don't know, right?
Yeah.
So now, man, I don't invite people to like beat on them, right? Like that's probably not the right way. Like, because you know what happened? We scared most of them off over the years, you know? And all those people that could have benefited from it, they probably think, well, these jiu-jitsu guys are dicks.
Gotcha.
Instead of thinking like this jiu-jitsu guy like could have helped me like be a better version of myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now I'm like, okay, buddy, like maybe you know how to do it. And maybe you do. Because jiu-jitsu maybe isn't the only way, right? There's various different martial arts, but if you want to learn this one that we know that works, like I'm here to like help you out.
To help,
you know,
mentor them. Yeah. You know, it's pretty known for people that know a little bit about that space that, you know, the average guy that gets in a altercation with someone that's skilled in jiu-jitsu or wrestling is probably going to have his work cut out for him. You know, that's somewhat known. And I read a book not that long ago, Tim Kennedy's book. Have you read Tim Kennedy's book?
No, I'm a fan of his, but I haven't.
You like Tim? Cool dude, and it really hit home in his book because he talked a lot about, you know, he has his background in martial arts training, and he would go to these. Speaking wrong, I'm not 100% sure. SEAL training or some sort of like high caliber special forces training, and he said, I would just go on repeat kicking their asses, like every single one of them. Come out, you're done. Come out, next guy, you're done. Next guy.
Basic training, and then when I went to the standalone combatives course in the Army, like I was just a blue belt, like the first color belt, and I ended up running the warm ups, and because I knew more and I could do more than the instructors, right? Like, you know, but that's again, it's a skill. It's not that you're badass. It's nothing to do with that at all. Like it's just like. You know the thing.
You know the thing.
You can swim across the pond. Like, that's it. You've practiced it. You've jumped in the water enough times to know that you're not going to sink. Yeah. You don't have to lie to yourself into, like, I'm pretty sure if I just try hard enough, like, I'm not going to sink. Like, you know it for a fact because you've done it. You know what I mean? You've done it 100 times. Like, that's exactly it.
You mentioned a couple times with, like, military and training, when in your timeline did you get into the military? How'd that go? We didn't really talk about that earlier.
So I felt like that was one of the things I always had to do anyways.
Okay.
You know? So, you know, when I was growing up and like, so a lot of countries had or maybe have still like compulsory military service. And that was the thing when I was a little kid, you know, my dad had served like, well, my grandfather, one of them served on the wrong side. Like he was a socialist propaganda officer in the like Czechoslovak army.
Okay. And
my grandparents from the other side got terribly like hurt by the regime, right? So Cold War in my household at all times. Just crazy stuff, right? Nevertheless, it always intrigued me. Like, what's this like military thing about, man? Like, is this where you really test yourself? Like, you find out like how much of a man you are, right? and I talked about this recently with my dad when I was overseas visiting here just a few months ago, and he said, yeah, like, you know, back in the old days, like, you know, the guys would just sit around talk about their military service. The girl, you know, the ladies sit around talk about like kids and like mothering, right? Because it's like kind of like the hardest thing that everybody's done in their life, you know, based on, you know, guy or girl. So, maybe it was in me. Maybe it was in me where like my grandfather, my dad's dad, World War II, he's one of those people that from the protectorate that the Germans would grab up, and they'd either send him to the front, or they would have him like work. Like my grandfather had worked in these bombed out cities in Germany, like pulling out people out of rubble, like as a 17-year-old kid. And so when he was given leave, like he didn't go back. He just like he ran off, bumped into some American troops, and like went back to Europe with them to France. And so like you hear these stories, like, man, I don't know, man, like the army, like kind of sounds cool, So I moved over here and I knew I had to do it right away. So pretty much I started looking into it, right? Thing was, so I moved here in 2010 to 2012. I joined. I wasn't even a citizen.
Okay.
Like I was still.
So you joined when you had come here.
Yeah. And I wanted to be a paratrooper, right? It sounded cool. But basically within 6 months of us living here, the opportunities for Hunters Inn came up. So like, we knew like, we didn't know how that was going to happen because we're both young and broke, and, I was new to this country and I wasn't even a citizen, but we knew it was a big opportunity. So maybe like active component wasn't like something I could do, like practically speaking. So I joined the National Guard and kind of did as much as I could in that, like just always look for ways that I could eventually become a good jiu-jitsu instructor, is what it boiled down to, right? Always looking for opportunities that would take me close to that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Did you have to do through your journey in that? Did you have a specific focus, or do you learn all things? Like, were you into, combat involved with it, mechanics involved with it? Like, what all did you do through? It was what, 2 years you did that?
No, I was in for 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah. I got out in 2020.
Okay.
2012 through 2020. I was an infantryman. So like, man, when you play war as a kid, you're not trying to be a fueler. You can't. You want to be the guy with the gun running and gunning. Right?
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to do. And so I was in an infantry unit, and, so it's weapon related. So there's like, again, you're studying martial arts, right? Is what it is. It's the art of war. Like, so you're looking for the parallels. You're like, okay, like what is, the jiu-jitsu and samurais, like where's the parallel between a modern soldier and a samurai, right? Like, well, skills, particular soldier skills and tasks, and then as you're coming up through the ranks, you're like, it's not about you all of a sudden. Now you're responsible for now you're like 25, 26, and you have guys under you that are just a little bit younger than you, but like you're responsible for everything. Like if they don't eat, it's your fault. If they're not at the right place at the right time, it's your fault. Like, if they fall out of the truck, like it's your fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now you're like, oh man, this is really tough. This is beyond the like tasks and skills, but I know like this leadership training thing is a good thing. Like, I don't know that I wanted to be a leader necessarily, that I was aspiring to that, but I knew it was like a lot of value in it. And I didn't quite realize just how much value was in all of that leadership training and training in general that I received in the military that serves me still
today. Yeah.
Like, you hear guys talking about it, guys in my situation that have been out for a few years, but you just don't realize it when you're in, because just you compress so much life into such short time when you're in the military. Like a lot of things happen.
Yeah.
And simultaneously nothing happens, and you're bored at the same time. It's a weird thing.
That would be.
But yeah, just learning how to be responsible for others. Like learning that it's not about you. Like,
Yeah. Leadership. Some have it, some don't. I mean, that's obvious. You demonstrate that you do. I mean, you seem to be a great leader.
I think I don't know if it's a skill.
Yeah. Or you're born that way, or a little bit of both. And yeah.
I wonder if it was born out of the fact that like I knew there's value in like, going beyond yourself, right?
Yeah.
I also knew in some sense that like it would probably help me be a better dad someday, right?
Yeah.
So when I became a dad, like, well, when he was, I had been responsible for the well-being of other human beings, so you kind of like, you draw on that, but I didn't quite realize that actually how much I was going to be drawing on it, like being a business owner and having like, I think 50 students at this point, like, like you gotta go about your day thinking about like the service, you know what I mean? Like I feel like if I get too stuck on my own stuff, if I think about myself too much, like I'll hurt, like my body will be in pain. Like I'll start noticing my pain too much.
Really?
Yeah, like my injuries, like my fused neck, and like.
Yeah, how did you get? What happened? Was it
It's a combination of jiu-jitsu and military, I think. Like too much wear and tear on a weakest part of your spine, basically. And I mean, I'm much better now. There's some residual nerve damage, no doubt. But
yeah, you mentioned that to me before. Yeah, with your arm? Was it with your?
Yeah, so so some nerves that go from whatever the part of my spine that's damaged. That definitely. Like I have hard doing overhead movements with my arm.
Yeah.
And like my left arm's noticeably weaker than my right arm, even though I try to do everything pretty much like, not just one arm at a time, like push-ups or pull-ups, like try to use both sides at the same time, right? And then shortly after that, I sustained an even worse injury, my lower back, right? 3 bad discs. Yeah, so at one point it was not good. Man. It was bad. I was in a bad way, like depressed, like thinking about my past too much, like the suffering that I've been through, like as a young kid.
Yeah.
Being taken away from everything that I know as a young teenager, right? And just like my mother and stepfather is just a menace. Like it was a bad household to live in, So if you think about like your own suffering too much, man, like then you just get stuck in that spiral, right?
Yeah. And when you're in pain like that, I can relate to the back. Like I said, this winter I was in a bad place. I've always been pretty positive and pretty, happy, outgoing, this and that. And when that pain crept in and got worse and worse and becomes chronic, where you just can't get out of it, and starting to medicate more and more. And I mean, our healthcare system, I could go on and on about of how big of a racket.
You want more pills? You got it.
Oh yeah, it was a disaster. That's all they wanted to do was force me pills, and I didn't want to take them. But I said, I'm going to use them as a tool to get better here, because I have to get better. I spent many nights, fetal position on my floor. I ended up going out west. I was skiing with some friends, and I still decided to go and try it. And buddy, I would lay in that bed in that Airbnb and to fall asleep on my back. I'd put 4 pillows under my legs to try to get my legs elevated, so I'm like in a sitting chair position laying down. I'd pass out, and then middle of the night I'd wake up and try to move any part of my body, and the pain in my back and sciatica down my left leg was just horrendous. And it just went on and on and on. And when you said that, you get in a dark place and you start to get, people were checking on me of like, how's your head, your brain with this? I said, not that good.
Not good.
Not that good. And that can mess with everything. Fortunately, I was able to swim. So that's when I zeroed into swimming more and did 2 back-to-back swim blocks where I couldn't flip turn because I couldn't bend, but I was able to just touch the wall, go. So I ended up swimming 5 days a week so I could still have some calorie burn, still be active, still working towards my goal, but everything outside of that was terrible. And man, does that mess with the head. That's a brutal thing. It was bad for a while. And I ended up having extruded L5S1 that was basically, completely blown out onto my nerve column and everything, causing sciatica down my left leg. The path I ended up going, and that's why I was getting to ask you how your back recovered, was the epidural injections, and ended up getting a couple of those, and it really did help a lot. It doesn't fix it, but it allows inflammation to decrease. And then that's when I tried to really zero in on the inflammatory foods that I try not to eat, the sugar and all the processed
Sounds
shit.
like you've been like through a very similar path in regards to that with me, man.
Yeah, and
all those injuries like had informed my, like, I mentioned like my body started breaking down. Like this is the part of it, right?
Yeah.
You're like wondering like, what can I do? But what can I do that's possible that like makes this go away? Right?
Yeah. Oh, I sat there many times and said,
I lived on ice packs.
Give me anything.
I slept on ice packs, and I drove on ice packs. Like, I could drive an hour.
So I got a funny story on I was in that place where I said, I'll take anything, do anything whatever I can make this pain go away, because I was in a really bad spot mentally. So I'm at the gym, and I would still try to go to the gym and do some techniques and some lifting mobility stuff as best I could. But like I said, throbbing to my ankle, aching toes, terrible. And there's a gal at the gym, and she says, have you ever tried these THC drinks? And it helped with my back pain. So I'm like,
that's what she said?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm like, I'll take one. I don't, mind you, I don't smoke weed. It's not my thing. You know, so I have zero tolerance for that type of stuff in my body. But at that point, I said, I'll do anything, because I don't want these pills from the doctor anymore. I'd rather try anything. So she says, you can try one of these. I'll bring you in one of the gym. It's like a 12-ounce can, like a soda can. And it's, you know, got some sort of THC levels in it. So I'm like, okay. So I said, I'll try this. So she gave me 2 of them. And the first night I get there, or I'm at my house, you know, just hanging out, crack one open, drank like half of it. Didn't really feel anything, you know, whatever. She messaged me on Instagram's like, hey, did you try that? Did it work? I said, I did, but it didn't really do anything. I guess no go, but whatever. Still in pain. So I put it back in the fridge. Next day, I was having dinner. It was flat, so I poured it out, and I had one more, and I was like, well, I'll just drink this one. I'm not going to just throw it away. It didn't really, the first one didn't work. So I drank it. So I drank it, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And again, didn't do any research. I didn't do any thought into this. So I drank this
didn't know really this person.
Yeah. I drank this thing, and it's probably 7 o'clock. Lay down to go to bed at about 9:30, and about 10 o'clock I woke up to the loudest noise. I thought my fan was exploding. Like it was, I was plugging my ears. I'm sitting there freaking out, like, oh my God. So I hitting my fan, because I sleep with the fan on, and then the fan goes, or the noise goes away. Then it comes back and it goes away, and it's doing it like every 5 seconds. And I'm like, oh my God. I had just watched this movie. I forget what it was, like the world was ending, where this family, when the deer come out of the woods and the loud noise, did you ever hear that? Like they're getting like nuked or bombed or something.
It sounds awful.
Yeah. So my next thought, we're getting nuked.
Oh,
so then
man.
I'm like, this is what it's like to be in the middle of nuclear war. My kids are asleep upstairs. I run outside in my boxers. I'm standing out there in the drive trying to get some cold air, because this was winter. This was like February. The noise keeps coming. I'm plugging my ears. I run back inside. I'm splashing water on my face. I'm like, this noise has to go. I'm freaking out. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I'm just really high. I'm like, holy shit. And this hit me so hard. The noise is what blew me.
Awful.
It was terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Man.
I almost called my mom at 1 a.m. It lasted 2 hours. I put my head in the pillows. It's like a jet engine in my head. I almost called her, said, you got to come over, because I'm a basket case. Like I can't function right now. Finally ended up dealing with it. Like I said, continuous, realized what I was doing, but I was like completely out of body, high, off my ass from this energy drink. Didn't think about my leg pain during it.
I was about to ask.
Yeah, didn't think
your back didn't
hurt during that, but ended up putting my head in the pillow, trying to go to sleep, and then must have passed out. Woke up in the morning, felt like a hangover. My head, everything was horrible from that THC drink. But that does
not sound fun, but it's a funny story.
It was funny.
Yeah.
I mean, I called my dad and my brother-in-law, and we were at the office the next day, and I'm like, you guys got to hear what happened. They're like, what? I'm like, I got accidentally really high last night. They're like, what? Because they know I don't get high. So they're just like, what? I'm like, you got to hear this story. Accidental.
So this, I had something similar, but I would say, I don't know if it's more extreme in consequences, but I was on vacation. This is a long time ago. It's going to be at least 10 years ago. But we're on vacation in the Dominican, like at this resort, me and Megan and like some family and friends. And like nice resort, everything, like nothing sketchy about it. It's a very nice, stand right there with like cigars. So I like purchased some cigars, right? Then later on, like in the afternoon, the guy who bought cigars from me and my buddy, like just gives us 2 free cigars, man. Smoke that. So, according to everything, according to my cop friends, what I described to them is like it was probably laced with ecstasy. And I'm like, Like
This
I
was
don't-
after, or you're saying before you
like,
smoked it?
like after the trip, like I asked him. So I'm about to
Okay.
describe to you
Yeah.
what happened.
Okay.
next, right? But after the fact, I asked my friends like what they could have been, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
I don't, like I've never tried like except for maybe this time ecstasy, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm like on the beach, like dancing, like playing, like doing limbo. Like it's not me, man. Like I'm not a dancer, you know what I mean? So my wife thinks she could like put me to bed, which of course it didn't work. Like I was wired.
Yeah.
Then I end up talking to like the valet guy of this casino that went to. Like I don't speak Spanish, but I was speaking to him in Spanish apparently. Just like
Self-taught that moment.
Wild night. No, nothing really too bad other than I was really embarrassed afterwards.
That's funny.
But yeah, man, maybe we should learn that just taking something from somebody, even if it seems like a good idea that we don't know, maybe it's not a good idea.
Yeah.
Even if
Cigar laced with
story
ecstasy.
after,
Yeah, it did. I mean, it is a funny story after, but mine was simply due to that back pain and saying like, I'll try whatever. I'll, just about whatever, because it was pretty miserable.
Stem cells.
Did you get stem cells?
Yeah. Waste to well. Yeah, I went to Austin and got stem cells. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And so,
when was that? When did you do that?
A little over a year ago now.
Just one treatment?
Just one treatment, but I'm thinking about making it a thing, like a regular thing, right? Because I do put probably unusual wear and tear on my body, right? Like maybe doing it once a year, like, to just
I didn't
let
know.
my body do the.
I did actually know about that place down there in Texas, but there's not a lot of, because it's, I don't want to say it's kind of frowned upon. Or you usually had to go out of country to do that.
I mean, I wasn't like.
But Texas, you can do anything.
Like
you can do
after
anything.
my ecstasy incident, potential ecstasy incident out of country, like I wasn't willing. You know what I mean? Like, seriously, like I just, they'll say if you go to like Panama or whatever, right? Like, you'll get a lot more for your buck. I don't know, man. Like, I'm a little scared to do that.
Same.
So
I hear people talk about it.
So I'm hearing about like Ways to Well from because they sponsor some of the like Jiu Jitsu athletes. So it's like in front of my face. That the advertising's strong on them shorts.
Yeah.
Right? So I like hit them up and I was working with them for a while and they kind of helped me dial in my regimen. And then I see the stem cells thing and I'm like, oh, man, sounds like. And then I look into like how much it costs. It's $4,500, right? It's a lot of money. Then like we pay $12,000 in insurance a year, and it's like doesn't get you anything good.
Yeah.
So you put it in that perspective, and you get that. I knew that I wasn't gonna like get a fusion on my lower back, like out of my neck. Like I didn't want to do that again. So I went through all the things. Right. I went through all the injections. Went through.
You did do some injections.
Oh, I did a bunch of injections in my neck. I did. What did I? Well, I think the only thing I didn't do is acupuncture, honestly. And it is better, right, after the fusion, but it wasn't like great, and I didn't want to like have the same experience with my lower back, so I just figured, hey, like okay, like $4,500, I might be at $4,500, but probably it's not gonna kill me.
Yeah,
and maybe just maybe I could get a new lease on like life, man, and so I did that. Like it was basically my birthday gift. Like my wife let me do this for my birthday last year. July 6th. So July 7th, I flew down to Austin just over one night. And it's just an IV. And
they don't inject it into the location. It's an IV.
They can. There's two different types that they do, I guess. But since I had multiple sort of, I had more wrong with me.
They want your whole body to get it.
Well, yeah, that was the idea, because I had all these other nagging injuries that just weren't healing, partially because I wasn't sleeping, right?
Yeah.
And so the first thing I noticed is like these little nagging injuries going away. Like I had this wrist thing, that I was nursing for like 2 years, and like I continuously have broken toes, because I never wear shoes. Like it's a miracle I'm wearing shoes right now.
Yeah,
I wanted to make it special, but I don't wear shoes, right? So my toes always beat up, and so like these little things are like going away. Like a little shoulder thing that I had, like I couldn't sleep on my left side. That was the first thing I noticed.
Really?
Right. I never went back to taking my pills. I was taking like muscle relaxers and like pain medicine, like non-opioid based, but whatever the maximum, like naloxone and all that stuff.
Yeah,
right.
I took a lot of naloxone.
And they were like, like you're maxed out. Like the pain clinic was like, we can't do anything else for you. Like we can't give you anything else except for the addictive stuff. I was like, well, I'm not going to do that. So I figured I give this a try, man. And like, so they said, wait 6 to 12 weeks before you like train hard or do anything. So I waited 6, train hard that weekend, felt awful. So I said, okay, like I'll wait 6 more, waited 6 more. And like throughout that time, basically quit taking and never restarted taking those meds. And, I was noticing these little little kind of pains and aches going away. So I knew like something was going on. And, like I'm not totally pain free in my lower back, right? Like, especially like if I don't sleep well, I know I'll wake up with a sore back. If I've slept well, I know I'm gonna wake up and I'm not gonna be sore. It's a weird but not a weird thing.
Yeah.
Right? If you know that about your body. And so, yeah, man, like life changing, like new lease on life. Like for me, again, anecdotal evidence from one guy, right? But yeah, I would recommend it based on my own experience.
Yeah. So you
and
said,
and I am planning on doing it again.
And they have the 2 options of to an injury versus IV.
So there's like different types of like, I guess, where they harvest the stem cells from and how they administer it, right? So like the stem cells I got were amniotic, like they collect them from the amniotic water, right? And I didn't do the direct site of injury because I had all these different things that I also wanted to address, right? So it's just an IV. But yeah, it was easy. One day.
That's great.
Nothing.
Yeah, you hear about it all the time. You're the first person I've got to talk to face to face that has had it and had great reviews. Everybody that talks about it says it's great. They all speak highly of it. You see a lot of it in the MMA world. That's where it kind of the most I've heard of it was in that.
Yeah, those guys beat each other up. It's what you don't see after the fight, right? When they're puffed up the next day, their legs open.
Oh man,
you don't
I'm sure.
See that.
Yeah,
right.
Checking kicks and everything.
It's not pretty, man. It's a short career, man. It's not too much longer than a football career, which is 4 years, I think, on average.
True. Yeah.
So it's
tough.
It's not for me, man. Not for me. I'm a middle-aged dad.
Yeah. Middle-aged dads with bad backs.
Bad back.
Yeah. Right. Well, hopefully yours stays that way and get that annual treatment. And
that's the game plan. And again, it's not the only thing, right? It seems like particular stretches. Like you heard about Ben Patrick, the knees over toes guy.
Yeah, I thought
like
awesome.
Man, like just do a couple of his little things, right?
Yeah.
Like daily, my pain goes away. Like if my back starts switching, I do them split squats and stuff. Like
knees
it works for me, man. It works for me.
Yeah, he's pretty legit. He's big in the backwards walking. Like we all the time are walking forwards.
You do it?
No, I get on the treadmill sometimes and do it when I'm warming up for a treadmill run. I'll just walk backwards, but it makes sense. I mean, he talks about we're constantly moving forward using that same motion and how much knee strength you can get from walking backwards. And it seems like.
And so in regards to that, this brought me, so what you just said about what Ben Patrick said in regards to the front versus back. And I had a friend, just a long-term friend who I served in the military. He trains Jiu Jitsu, but he lifts. He's been lifting. Like, I don't really lift. I've never really lifted, right? I do some calisthenics. I do Jiu Jitsu. He's consistently lifted. Like, he's not a huge, big jack guy, but he says, yeah, like, my back used to always hurt. Then I started working out my back, and it stopped hurting. So, that always rings in my head. I'm like, okay. Could it be that maybe as a whole, as peoples, but specifically a lot of jiu-jitsu people, we overwork our front of our body and neglect our posterior chain? Right? Like we're sitting right now, we're like doing this. Right? When do you ever do the opposite? Never, right? You see Greco-Roman wrestlers do it, right? They're doing that arcing crazy suplex over the back. So now basically a lot of my strengthening, like when I do my strength, it's just a teeny tiny little circuit, push-ups, pull-ups, a little bit of split squat, a little bit of squat, reverse hyper, no weight, nothing. And even the pull-ups are with rings, right? So there's, you do pull-ups, kind of starts bothering your elbows or shoulders, right? So them rings kind of just make it more natural. So just work the posterior chain, try to keep that strong. And it seems like that focus is also like working as physical therapy really well.
Yeah, I think I try to do the same. I'm doing endurance cardio type work the vast majority of the time, but really want to stay on the strength, stay on, that side of it. Because I think truly you hear people talk about fitness and, what's being fit, being able to run forever or lift heavier weights. And I really think it's a combination of both, of having, a well-rounded fitness, mindset and let your body do different things. And a family friend of mine is a PT, and he often says, like, you don't ever see somebody generally, you don't see someone with a lower back pain and injury that has a big ass.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly it, right?
Tied to building your glutes, building your quads, building your core, working out those muscles. And I'm like, damn, that's kind of a good point. Having that strength and lifting down there.
You into like National Geographic or stuff like that? Like I was big into it when
a little
I was a
bit.
kid.
Yeah.
Like now it's not exactly what it used to be, right? It used to be about like, you're gonna see some like tribal people somewhere in like sub-Saharan Africa, like it's gonna be a cool documentary, and then you're gonna catch something about like the pyramids or something, right? And then it started becoming crazy, more about the pyramids and more about the crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But back in the day, right? So you watch it, and like all of these guys, even the men, have huge asses.
Yeah.
Like seriously, like the tribesmen, like
they're big dudes. Yeah.
They're big dudes with big butts.
Big ass.
So what does it mean? Right? Why do we have big butts? Because we walk around standing, right? Like that's why chimps are way stronger than us, but they don't have big butts.
Yeah.
They have no butts.
Yeah.
So then you think, okay, well maybe the posterior chain, maybe like the thing that I'm supposed to be doing, maybe like get good at doing that. If the rest of my day I'm gonna be hunching over my computer, at least my workout could be about doing the opposite, right?
Yeah.
I think.
Makes sense.
I'm a jiu-jitsu instructor, not a fitness.
No, I can't claim
definitely strain outside of my like level of comfort, but it's the thoughts that run through my head as I'm like taking care of my own body, for sure.
Yeah, I plan on trying to stay with that, and through this winter especially. It's really tough during, like, right now would be for me considered kind of like race season. This is when you have events and things, so you're trying to
right now
prime.
It's coming like fall.
Yeah, it's throughout the summer and fall. Mm-hmm. I have a big 4.5 weeks from now, have a pretty sizable race in Michigan, and then one again in December down in Florida. Those are the last two of the year. But then once that hits, I really, zero in on muscle building and trying to really get back into that.
Fascinating, right? Like human beings, like we're the most general of all movers, at least in the mammalian kingdom. Right?
Yeah.
See, like a horse is really good at running. It's not very good at anything else. Like, we're not as good at running as a horse, but like we can run okay, and we can also swim pretty okay.
Yeah.
We can also like do jiu-jitsu and climb. And we can take those individual things into like we're good at specializing and generalizing. It seems like, right?
All different.
Like, we're so different. It's like what we do for work, like what people do for work is way different, right? People live in all sorts of different climates.
Yeah.
And we move like we're really different.
All different.
Like the East, like in the West, we move way different than we see like people in poor countries move. Like squatting. I don't see anybody squat here. Like I'm a Slavic man. Like squatting in tracksuits is like what I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't see people squatting, right?
Yeah, that's true. It's good for your back, they say.
Yeah, you see like Chinese people, like they squat, like they have a little cigarette break out back, like they're squatting down, man. Like, there's something to it, man.
There is. That's interesting.
Little kids are always squatting.
Yeah. You said about, out of control. That's not fun. And I think that's probably the root of a lot of my lifestyle choices now is I grew up with some of the negative things that happened in my life. I had, a handful of pretty bad experiences that I was out of control. And I think I know per therapy that, I didn't have control as a young boy, and I, wanted it so bad, this person to change or this person to be out of my life or out of, and it was one of those things that I just had no control. So now I'm like OCD control. Where if I can control it, I want to control it because it makes me feel better than those bad past memories and feelings of being out of control. My sister and I both, and I think that's the root of a lot of what I do with raising my kids a certain way, because I can, and I don't mean control in like a, controlling or in a negative way, just being able to contain everything that's happening surrounding that topic to push it towards the outcome that, is best for me or fits me best. And that's why I like, You know, no one can make me run faster but me.
Mhm.
Full control. Nobody can make me learn how to swim or compete at a level I want to compete unless I have control. And that I know it comes from my upbringing. Yeah.
I'm in the same boat in regards to that. So without going into it, because there's a lot of details, but without going crazy
Yeah.
deep, right? When I found myself in New Zealand, when I was kidnapped there, basically what it amounts to, it was against court orders, you know, illegally. My stepfather was running from the law, like my mother added on to it, and they just found each other Bonnie and Clyde style, minus the violence, you know, and shooting, right? Violence was just committed in the household against us, you know, physically and otherwise, like having to get up to go work for him on the weekends, like on the farm, like,
Yeah.
you know, think, you know, just living in a just a toxic environment, and being worried about like your physical health and like your well-being, right? So that drove me to like obviously martial arts, right? And then like what is the scariest thing you can think of? Like for many years for me it was just like a physical altercation, right? Not being able to like defend myself. So that's why I like studied so deeply into it. Like what does it mean, right? And it means like there's only a level of control that you have. Like there's still like the control is kind of an illusion. Like
Yeah.
but you do control yourself, right? You can't control the bad guy.
No.
Just like you can't control life. So you can control only what you do. You can control how far you run, like you said, right? I can control if I cover up my face or not when there's a strike coming at me. I don't necessarily control whether it's coming at me
Yeah.
or not, right?
Hard for guy, you know, for me, that's hard for me to not be able to control what I can't control. You know,
Yeah,
that's something I've had to work hard on in life.
So it's
Yeah.
so it's like swimming and jiu-jitsu are the most similar. Whereas like it's very easy to just pause that bike and very easy to, you know, pause that run. It's not, you can't really do it in the middle of a swim,
No.
right? You have to
Yeah.
swim to wherever you're going. And you can't do it inside of a fight. Like you can do it inside of a training round, right? Otherwise it would be
Yeah.
crazy. Like what kind of training are we doing here? Hazing, right?
Yeah.
So you obviously can, but you're teaching yourself how not to, how to just conduct yourself within that chaos, right? Trying to implement the techniques that you've learned with more stress added to it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's basically like in the military, they call it like stress inoculation, right? It's the same as taking a cold shower. Like, you
Yeah.
know, it's like you can add how cold it is or how long you take it, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, you're changing how you conduct yourself within that chaos when you're interacting with that environment. So it's like the same thing, right? And I wonder if like people with background that's, you know, traumatic in some way, where you're not in control, like you've described them, like I've been, if that drives people specifically to kind of move in this way, right?
Yeah.
I don't mean move physically, I mean conduct ourselves. Like we
Yeah.
conduct ourselves in a particular way, right? We live our life in a specific way. You know, we're both kind of boring, but also kind of want to do hard things, like
Definitely.
and want to be the best version of ourselves because it means we think we have more control, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
We've mastered ourselves. Like it doesn't exist, but
No.
we should definitely strive for it every day, right?
Yeah.
Like the perfection doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But it's in the journey, right? It's in like it's not me competing for that medal. It's in preparation for it that I become a better person. It's not the medal, but it's the preparation for the competition, right? The process itself.
Yeah. And I think I maybe until I found this path was missing that. You know, I didn't have anything, you know, until this, what I'm doing these last 3 years that really captivated me the way this has. And I think that, you know, it didn't send me down any bad paths or anything like that, but I think I was always searching for something that I could sink into and love and be passionate about and, you know, everything else. I just was missing that and grasping for something and in some unhealthy ways. Like I said, you know, we talked about alcohol a little bit. I mean, I was drinking every day, 7 days a week. Just thought it was normal.
Yeah.
I assumed I saw it, and I have alcoholics in my family and my
I come
close
from
family.
a very like drinking, you know, culture. Like the Czechs, man, number
They
one
drink
consumption of
pretty good.
beer, like number one in the world.
Yeah, I was in
Consumption
Prague
per
last.
capita by a long shot.
Yeah, I was over there in the general area. We traveled to Austria a little bit, and we were in Prague, and there was a lot of people there talking about, yeah, I mean the beer drinking and the is culture. And we were there for some of their one big football game that they had, soccer to us, football to them, and it was wild. The amount of partying going on, it was
crazy. Yeah,
that was just crazy.
So I saw that. I was around that, and then Hunter's Inn, and just my wife being in that industry. Like when I worked in it, I drank very regular. Like probably not every day, but probably 6 days a week I drank, and I took the Sunday off of drinking, like the opposite of what I do now, maybe. But it's like it's only normal if you hang around with people that make it normal, right?
Yeah.
Like if you start hanging around other weirdos that want to like either do jiu-jitsu day in and day out, or like want to run really far, like you just find your kind of weird. That's still weird, right?
Yeah.
It's not normal. Like to do a triathlon, it's not normal to do jiu-jitsu in and out. Like it's weird.
Yeah.
But it's maybe a weird that resonates in a different way that like is healthy for you overall, right?
Yeah. I certainly like that kind of weird. I like that a lot more than the latter.
It just blows my mind. I never, like for years I realized just how weird I was. Like my friend's wife had to say it. Like they had an outing in Titusville with the Health and Gracie guys, and I didn't make it to it. And so I asked her, like, how did you like it? She'd never met those guys. She said, yo, all your jiu-jitsu friends are weird. And I was like so offended by it, right? Because like those are my main friends. Those are my only friends. All my friends do jiu-jitsu. That is my life. Someday I'll do it for a living. This is back then. But then the more I thought about it, each individual person, I was like, yeah, he's weird. He's weird. And then finally, like, I ran out of people, and I had to like count myself. I'm like,
I'm fucking weird.
Pretty. I can say eccentric to make it sound better, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So then you're like, what do you do with it? Well, okay, like if you're the only one doing it, then you're weird. If you find people that do it with you, then you're like cool, right? Like that's the only difference.
Funny.
You know what I mean? Like that's the only difference.
That's really funny. If you do it by yourself, you're weird. If you do it with others, you're cool.
Yeah. So now it's just a matter of like finding your own weirdos, like find people that are the same kind of weird.
Yeah, it's me, right? It's funny. When you said that of the alcohol, back to that a little bit, that I thought it was totally normal to just drink at every meal. I thought it was, or at every dinner and just daily and everything like that. And then I started to meet people in this space that I'm in now, some of these weirdos. And I'd hang out with them and I'm like, this person is so cool, so motivated, fun, funny, athletic, all these great qualities that I was just captivated with. And then somehow the top would come up like having a beer, this and that. And they're like, I don't really drink that much. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't drink that much? You don't drink every day? And it's like, no, I don't drink every day. And then I started to see like, man, you can be pretty damn cool and be so much different than what I was used to. And I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know. And then the more I got to see it and got to be around these people, I started to see that with their lifestyle of like the vast majority of them are pretty in control with that, in control of alcohol and alcohol usage. And I was not, in a place that I was. But I when you were saying that about, finding people that are weird like that, it makes sense. I agree.
This is weird, right?
I agree fully.
It's very
abnormal.
Normal by definition would be what most people are doing, right? So if you're doing anything outside of that norm, you're weird. Yeah. Now, if it's like a graph, like you can go into outlier parts, like for better or for worse, and you're gonna be weird. But then, like, if you're gonna be weird, like, might as well be your favorite kind of weird around your favorite kind of weirdos. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, being authentic. Yeah. Being weird, being authentic, I think is critical. A lot of people don't do it. That's for sure. I know a lot of people that they just can't be their authentic self, and that is sad because I think it's so important to wake up every day and be, truly what you read, act, social media, what you post is really you. And there's some people that are grasping so bad. And I look at it of like, man, if you could just get into your lane, you'd feel so good. It feels so good. And it's hard for people to do.
It is, really, man. Challenging. Because man, like the world that we live in now with everything that's online, right? I mean, you see it, you know it. Everybody knows people like you're like,
Yeah.
oh, you're not like this. I know you in real
Yeah,
life.
that's what I'm
Like,
saying. There's people.
you
I'm
see
like,
it on socials. Like
that's
we
not
all
authentic.
have like somebody
Yeah.
on our socials that we know in person and we know on socials. They're like, yeah, those two are totally different, right?
No.
But like with the phones, we were talking about with the phones earlier, right? Those phones like bring us closer to people who are far away, but make us farther away from people who are really close to us.
Yeah.
So it's like the same thing with socials, right? You're like trying to be somebody for somebody who's far away,
Yeah.
instead of like really care about who you are for you and for the people who are like right here.
Yeah.
You know, and like there's a disconnect. And frankly, if I had the energy, maybe I'd try to be cool on socials. And certainly, you know, I don't post my ugliest photos on Facebook, you know, either. But like,
Yeah.
you know, like it takes a lot of energy to try to maintain 2 or 3 or whatever different personalities, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't have the energy for it. Like I
No.
just don't. I don't. I barely have enough energy to be a good husband, you know, good dad, and a good jiu-jitsu instructor. Like that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, well, you're doing damn good at those, which is great for sure. You brought a book in with you, you said. What book's that?
I got this for you, Brian. It's called "The Obstacle Is the Way" by Ryan Holiday. It's a book that is very easily digestible,
Mm-hmm.
but it's full of like it's full of Stoic wisdom.
Gotcha.
And you know, I used to think like Stoics, you know, stuffy like philosophers just
Yeah.
sitting around philosophizing all day, whatever, philosophizing, whatever. However
Yeah,
you say it,
yeah.
right? And then I like got a little bit into it, just a little bit, and learned, man, that's really practical wisdom by people like Marcus Aurelius, who were like doers, right? Who were people
Yeah.
who were not sitting around thinking all day. They just spent some time thinking about what they were doing too, you know.
Yeah.
And the longer like I'm on this journey of especially like jiu-jitsu, right, which is something that's been around for a really long time, like really long time.
Really long, yeah.
Like you can go to the temples of Angkor Wat, like in Cambodia, and you'll see depictions of moves we still use today, right? And you see that on ancient vases and stuff too, right? So that brings me to what are the things that permeate time, right? What are the things that a person could have used back then as they can use today, right? Like we're people of combat, we're people of conflict. Like we've always fought. There's not been that many instances of just peace. What we have today is very rare, right? We have always had problems, right? We've always had obstacles,
Yeah.
right? That's not a new thing. So how did people deal with it back then that we can use today, right? And Stoicism is pretty much about, like, if I'm screwing up your mic here, Brian, the Stoicism that they describe is basically just about perception, right? About
Mhm.
being able to recognize if you are in fact of control of that thing, or if you're not, right? So recognizing that, which is perception, having the inspiration or the energy to take action upon that, right? Which you can think about stuff all day, but unless you
Yeah,
do something
yeah.
about it, it doesn't matter. And then finally having the will to persevere over long periods of time to overcome the obstacle, right? And you can go online, buy yourself a copy of the Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. It might not be great because there's so many different people who have rewritten it, right?
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like you got to be lucky in which copy you get. But this is basically compiled some of the wisdoms of the ancients in there. That's with some real life examples that are I think you can use it right away, and I've definitely used it like directly. Like I read some of those things, like, let's go about things that way, and boy, if you recognize that you can and kind of control something, then you have the energy left to control the things you can, as opposed to wasting it on things you can't, right?
Yeah. Like I mentioned earlier, that's something, a flaw of mine. We all have a lot of flaws, obviously, but one of which is
I'm in the same boat, Brian. Like
trying to control what I can't control. It's very hard for me when I measure up other people, and it's like, why didn't they do that way? Why would they do that? It doesn't make any sense to me. It's so black and I'm a really black and white person also, which is maybe a flaw too. But to measure up of why others have done it and to be able to accept that that's out of my control. It is what it is. I'm not good at that. It's a flaw, but something I'm working on. But thank you very much. I appreciate it. This will be great to read. I did need something to read. It reminds me, I'm trying to think of the name. I have a book that I think it's called A Knight's Rule, maybe A Knight's Tale. A Knight's Rule, I believe. Ethan Hawke. Have you ever heard of that?
I feel like somebody in my leadership Meadville class had brought up Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, so he had a book that basically they wrote it into a book, he did, of his great 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 or so grandfather's notes that they found, family from basically raising their kids and basically how to become the right kind of man, man or woman, I should say. But it just reminded me when you said this, it was an amazing book to read, that really just talked about being a good person, and it translates from hundreds of years ago to now, just like some of these things do.
We're not that different.
No, we're not that
cool
different.
Phones and cool clothes or whatever, but we're like the same. We're exactly the same, right?
Yeah,
it seems to me.
Those are interesting things to read. I'm sure I will love this, because when I read that, I was, like I said, captivated on just this guy was going to, I'll call it war, but going to battle. He was a knight and he was going to go die. So he wrote this to his kids, and basically I remember the one thing that stuck out to his daughters, where he said, I hope you're blessed with, like a sharp mind and this and that, and poor looks, because looks can corrupt you, and looks can, and it was just like, whoa, this is hundreds of years ago. This guy's talking about things that are very applicable to today. And it was a fascinating read. And it was basically a letter to his kids about how to turn out, because he was going to perish in this battle. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I need to get back to reading. I tend to have trouble with it. I prefer hard copy books. Some people like audiobooks. I actually prefer reading hard copy books. I don't know why. I just like to read them.
Well, if you're gonna read before you fall asleep or something, there's nothing better than that.
Yeah, and I fall asleep in about 10 seconds.
I like audiobooks when I drive, but right before I fall asleep, man, it's nothing like 3 sentences.
Yeah. Well, that's good that you're getting that way with your poor sleep that you've had. If you can read a book, reading helps at night.
And I mean, this is a book that's on my nightstand most often.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I have the book Make Your Bed on my nightstand.
Yeah, I just listened to that.
Admiral,
Navy SEAL
what was his name? Admiral.
I just watched a little video and I'm like, oh, there's a good point to that.
He spoke in Erie. Was it Admiral Nelson? No, what was his? I can't recall. But great book.
No, the person you're talking about, for sure.
And he actually spoke up here in Erie a couple years ago and told that story about making your bed in the morning, and the first bit of discipline. Man. It's the first bit of self-discipline, the first task you can do, and if you do that, it sets your day off. And I was always
so important, man. So important. Like for me, I mentioned earlier, post-traumatic stress. I've never felt right. I almost never feel well.
Yeah.
Right. So you're just gonna do it. Doesn't matter how you feel. Just go do the thing.
100%.
And doing the thing is gonna actually make you feel better. It's not the other way around. For years I thought, oh man, but maybe someday I'll get to a place where I can just relax and finally feel stress free. That's not how it works.
No.
That's not how it works at all. You have to build a routine and build the discipline to do the things that in fact will make you feel better. But doing the things is the key, right?
Yeah.
Because, for me, man, I haven't felt well a lot more than felt well, right? So it's going off of your feelings and how you feel. That's just that's not a good guide.
Yeah.
And
like you said, showing up every day is step one, doing it when you don't feel like doing it. We all talk about that a lot. There's many, many times.
Mike Tyson, man, discipline is not doing what you love. It's doing what you hate like you love it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm paraphrasing slightly.
Yeah. Mike Tyson also, everybody's a tough guy till they get punched in the mouth. I see that from Mike Tyson too. I like that. He's a character. But what we were saying about showing up every day, I think that's an important lesson that everybody should learn and work on some. There's no real workout that I've ever done that I regretted after. You finish and you feel like $1 million.
I haven't met anybody who was worse off for having done jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
It's just a tool, it's just a great tool for life. Being active, just broadly speaking, Yeah. And doing something worthwhile on top of that.
Yeah. not to mention, like you said, protecting your family, your kids, all that. That's a great skill to have, and just that's fantastic. I mean, we all need that.
It's a life skill, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
like, listen, I love cops. I live in the middle of nowhere. Like, it's going to be at least 15 minutes before anybody gets there. Like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's just the reality. Like, and if you like me and you love nature, like, you're not going to live in the city, right? You're going to live somewhere where it takes a little bit to get there.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, don't want to fret about it. Want to control what I can and use the rest of my training just to become a better version of myself, right? Because only the first part is about self-defense.
Yeah.
Why you stay in it? Well, that maybe becomes a different reason.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, hey, I appreciate you sitting and talking. You're an admirable guy. I love what you do with good karma. You are, though. You carry yourself great. You're respected by your peers, and you're doing a great service to kids and people in the community. Like I said, when we first started, I've gravitated to people that have self-discipline and passion and care and just hold themselves in a certain way. And you were that guy right out the gates. I said, I gotta sit and talk with Yoda and just hear his story and learn a little bit. I learned a ton about you today. Anyone that'll listen to this old man bad back conversation, they'll learn a lot about you too. But I appreciate everything you do. Like I said, you're a stand-up dude, and yeah, it was a great time. So I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
Alpha Endurance. Be authentic, be accountable, be disciplined.